Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here. Welcome back. We're in episode 3 of 5 in the series of Leading Change with Confidence. No change going on in our workplaces at this time, right? We wish. It seems like it has been constant change for a very, very, very long time. We want to discuss the power of a strategic consulting approach. So we are here with our expert guest, Sayer Darling, where we're going to explore key strategies and tools that help leaders navigate change effectively in order to create a lasting impact on their organizations. Welcome back, Sayer.
Thanks so much, Wendy.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, what you do on a regular basis so that we can give our audience an idea about this power of a strategic consulting approach. Well, who's your ideal client without naming names, obviously?
Right. An ideal client is someone who shows up not thinking that they know everything about a project and needs some support in redirecting. And quite frankly, my experience in coaching leaders is that they're typically facing an experience that's really outside of their comfort zone. So most people show up in that particular place. And one of the learnings I've had recently is, everyone talks about how difficult change is in the workplace. And the fact of the matter is the change itself isn't that difficult. It's the challenge behind the change. It's I don't want to change my routine. Oh my gosh, I have to learn a new technology. Oh my gosh, I can't meet with that person every week. Those are the challenges behind the change. And when those are recognized and dealt with and understood, the change itself is pretty easy. So the strategic approach I use to work with leaders who are leading change is to really stand them up, lift them up, remind them of the skills they haven't used for a while because they have been in a consistent role, a consistent mindset. So how do we change your mindset? How do we help you have a different leadership voice, a different presence, talk about different things? For example, how do you deal with a situation like I'm leading this project, but it is really going to upset some people I work with on the senior leadership team? How do I do that? How do I handle that politics? We talk about that. And the biggest difference, I think, between leadership of just business and leading during change is you really have to be a leader and communicate as a leader who can capture the heads and the hearts of people. Because if you don't capture their heart, they're just going through the motions. They're not really engaged. They don't ask questions. They have a lot of resistance. They don't have buy-in, and things aren't very successful. So what is the real opportunity for people to fall in love with their job again, learn new skills, find new ways to work, boost their own profile in the organization? That's what I help leaders do.
I love that you said help them fall in love with their job again. That's just amazing. Hopefully they were in love with it in the first place, and that's why they took the job, right? I do have a question here. How does strategic consulting in the leading change with confidence area help these leaders identify their blind spots in decision-making processes?
Well, that's where my expertise comes in. One of the things that I have always used in my coaching and consulting is a very granular approach to what's the language you are using. Every single layer of the organization has its own language, its own culture, its own motivation, its own performance metrics. So often when you sit down and hear about a change and the C-suite is making a presentation, usually off a deck of slides a consultant provided, you lose a lot of details in the translation down to the senior manager's perspective, the middle manager, the employee. Everyone interprets the corporate jargon differently. So if you can't get past that jargon, you can't trickle down that information in the language of each layer of your organization. And for each functional silo, you're starting off on the wrong foot. So I start to look for granularity. I look for the interpretation of the information. Funny story here. There's a large organization I was working for, doing some change management work on an operational excellence project. And the word alignment was a key objective. Are we aligned? And they use the word so frequently, I wanted to say, jokingly, of course. So if you use alignment 3 times in one sentence, does that mean you're more aligned than if you just use it once? So we have to be careful with granularity of language, minding the gaps and understanding. If you want to know why change breaks down, if you want to know why you don't have a shared understanding when you thought it was there in the first place, just look in the gaps. That's where you can usually find it.
70% of companies utilizing strategy consultants report huge improvements in efficiency and market positioning. It's just a fact. Wendy, back to you.
I love that. And one more question for you, Sayer, is, with the stats that JC just shared, what measurable business outcomes have you seen in organizations that have leveraged coaching and strategic consulting to navigate, transformations positively?
Yeah, I think organizations really fall short on pulling those metrics together. They do the best they can, and then they're off to the next project. The other thing is the metrics they are pulling together are usually about the specific change rejection, the acceptance rate, employee satisfaction of engagement, employee training effectiveness, etc. That's just about the project. What we really need to be looking at as well is what are the statistics about the impact of that change? How has it improved the employee satisfaction? How has it improved the user experience? Has it put you ahead of the competition? Can you give your sales team the edge because you've made these improvements? And how does it bring value to your brand? And people really aren't looking at that.
I love that. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to episode 3 of our 5-part series on leading change with confidence. In our next episode, we're going to cover building resilient teams during transformation. As a reminder, Aurora Training Advantage subscribers can earn HRCI and SHRM credits for listening to this series on the HR Empowerment podcast channel. You just have to go to the website, auroratrainingadvantage.com/podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.